I'm Lexi Davis, a love embodiment coach who helps people create a love that feels like home, and I'm here to bring more romance and playfulness into the world. I'm also an international retreat host, vibe curator, and human connector. I serve people through my business, Alive to Enjoy, and this podcast where I invite guests from around the world to sprinkle their wisdom and expand your perspective so you can create the deepest love you possibly can reach in this lifetime. I also want you to live the most joyous life, whatever that looks like to you, and I hope that this slice of the internet brings you lots of smiles and helps you keep your heart open. Thank you for choosing Heart Snuggles to be in your ears each week, and I'm so glad you're here with me. Welcome, Heart Snugglers. We're so happy you're here today. I have the gorgeous Chelsea with us, who we met off Instagram, and then I won her retreat to Costa Rica, and it's been such a beautiful friendship already, and it's only been so short. So I'm so excited. She's full of wisdom, magic, and just beauty, and it's going to be a great episode. So Chelsea, go ahead and tell them about you.
Hey everyone. First of all, thanks Lexi for having me. I love you so much already. And yeah, it's been such a short amount of time, but I'm like, soul sister.
Yes.
Love you.
Love you.
A little bit about me. My business is called Heart Centered Humans, and my mission is to really invite everyone to tap into their heart center and lead from that. And so I host retreats. I've created my own breathwork technique. I love to coach and mentor soul-led humans, and honestly, so much more. I can get into a lot, but that's a little bit about me.
So good. Okay, so the first question of the podcast is, what was the last random act of kindness someone did for you?
You know, I am really, really grateful that I get random acts of kindness all the time from my partnership. And that's like, when I'm thinking about that, I'm like, you didn't say stranger. So I really get so much love from him. He's always thinking about me. And one of the biggest things, because in past relationships, I always wanted to have somebody that would text me randomly. I was always the person like, oh, I'm thinking about you. I love you. And with Joe, he will just almost every day, he'll be like, hey, I love you. I'm thinking about you. And it just not that that's the act of kindness I'm thinking of, but just something that just makes my heart feel so snuggly and grateful. So yeah, that's one.
No, that's the perfect one, because we all want to know that we're being that they're thinking of us and that we're loved and that, I'm cared for, and just that simplicity. It's so crazy. We always think we want these extravagant things, which of course this can be nice too, but the little thoughtful text means so freaking much. So that's beautiful. Thanks for sharing that. And I first want to ask you, what have you always been in your heart center? What kind of got you into a heart-centered work? As I am too, but love to hear your story.
Yeah. I have to admit, I've always, since college, I've always been guided to do work that lights me up in some way. I knew I was never going to be in an office or something that just wasn't aligned. So I always was kind of following my heart to things, but they weren't just the right thing. First, I am very passionate about plant medicine. And so first I went into the cannabis industry because that was the only avenue that was legitimate that I could go into. And I was like, oh, I'm in here. Wasn't quite right. And I was like, you know what? I'm so passionate about connecting to nature and being in the mountains and helping other people feel that connection. And so I went into the outdoor industry and became a ski instructor and a hiking guide and a leave no trace master educator. And just I want to teach people how to love, this beautiful nature that we have. And then I was like, this is great, but this is not quite right. And then at one point I just kind of came to that enough is enough moment with my last job. Mm-hmm. I was feeling sad and depressed all the time. I would get off of work and just need to have a couple beers and just drown my sorrows. I would be crying almost every day after work, just on the drive home. And I just knew enough is enough. And so I let all of that go and I began like a journey on just connecting to myself. And that was my mission. It was like, it's kind of funny. And people are like, how did your business start? I'm like, my business started just by me tending to myself. And I had no, like, I'm starting a business. It was just like, I need to connect to who I am and I need to embody my truth because I was wearing so many masks. Mm-hmm. And at a point, I didn't know who I was. I didn't feel connected to my heart. I was listening to it, but I wasn't really listening to it. And so that's kind of how like the real heart-centered journey started, although I've kind of always lived a little bit of a outside of the box lifestyle. But yeah, just really starting to tend to myself.
I mean, that I feel like that is so common, even if it might not directly be in that path. It's like you can't guide someone else until you've guided yourself and experienced it yourself. And that's something I really love about your work and that we've talked about. And at your retreat, it was so beautiful. It's like you can only teach people what you've really embodied yourself. And I think that is something really important. I was so guilty of this in the past, like learning something, immediately spitting it right back out and be like, I need to tell everyone, which was out of excitement. But when you can really, like take in the experiences and then being able to show other people how to do it, it's so beautiful. And I'd love to go into your relationship with Mother Earth, because that was another one of my favorite elements of your retreat. And I think was so powerful. I love nature and I'm an earth sign. But you have such a deep connection with her. So I'd love to hear about that.
Oh my goodness. I mean, I guess the first thing that just came into my mind was my family has always been a family that's like, we, the weekends here, get outdoors, get outside, like pack everything up and we are camping. I grew up dirt biking and literally just like going on trails for miles and miles and just like, I remember being on my dirt bike and like making up like imaginary tales of like different deer and squirrels and foxes that I would just like create like a narrative for. So I've always had this like infatuation with nature. And even my grandmother, I remember her like being that first like leave no trace example for me. She said like, take only photos, leave only footprints, which is not a very well-known leave no trace saying, but it is one. And like, so I always had that like respect nature very deeply in my being and that admiration for it. Then honestly, I've always, I like things are coming to my mind. I spent so much time in Hawaii growing up because my grandmother lived there. And like, even I remember being like 5 or 6 feet away from like lava flowing right into the ocean and just like feeling that feminine power of the earth and that ferocity. And then also like, I remember being like, I'm a great swimmer, but like just tumbling in the waves and like also feeling that humbleness of like, we can like come into the ocean and it can be this gentle lake or it can be this, very ferocious beast. Even as I've grown up, like I mentioned before, I started doing work outdoors and whatnot, and even having that relationship with respecting avalanches, with respecting nature, with respecting the animals that are around us. So that's like on a logistical level, I feel. But on an energetic level, I feel like I've always been this like grid worker. And I think I'm sure you know the term, and it's for anyone listening, it's like this person that's like just guided to random places on the planet. And it's like, you need to come here and you're not maybe sure why. It's like you're guided by this unknown force, by this like message that comes through. And it's like, come here now. And I've always like had those feelings, and I've always been so like such a traveler in general. And so listening to those pulls by, the unknown and really allowing myself to open up and receive information from the earth. And every time it's different. A lot of the times I'm not fully conscious of what that information is. I think that's something I've really loved embracing is like, I don't need to know what's happening, especially like our English language or all languages can't even encompass all of the energetic vibrations that we are absorbing when we're in these different lands. I will say the biggest like opening of listening and connection to the earth for me was when I removed my birth control, my IUD. I began living in Bali and bleeding on the earth for the first time in 3 years at that point, and just like actually inviting a connection in a deeper way of like, I am opening my powerful channel. We've got ways we can listen, and opening that channel to receive information in a different way. And I know you love Bali too, and I know that we have that in common. But that was definitely a huge catalyst for my deep listening and for deepening my connection with Mother Earth. That's always like just been continuing, but always deepening.
And I listen, that's so magical. And it makes me sad when people have no connection to Earth. I'm like, how could you not? But like, I also understand like the society we live in. But I think it's really powerful to have that and to bring people into that more. And I would love to know more about bleeding on Earth, because I feel like a lot of people have never done that, and why the importance of it and kind of how someone could get started doing that.
Yeah, I'll definitely share that. I do want to say, like, those people who feel like they maybe don't have a connection to Earth. I mean, I just think that's untrue. Like, I think that everyone has a connection. I think that connection scares a lot of people because it is so much in the unknown. And like, that's what people like. They're like, oh, the known, like, this is what I know. I can attach a meaning to it. And when we start working with these like unknown ethereal forces, you start to question a lot. And then that's, disrupting the status quo and like making things more uncomfortable because you have to think deeper and, question all of the reality. So I feel like it's available for everyone. I feel like everybody's probably gotten a taste of it in some way, like even just being outside and having a moment and then feeling that wind like come up really fast and you're like, ooh, something's there. But a lot of people will talk themselves out of anything because of that like need to know. So sorry, I just had like that
No,
was
that's so beautiful. I mean, you're right. And like, as we know, like we're all connected, and Mother Nature like is a direct reflection of everything we've learned in our society. And so, yeah, like even just looking at a beautiful flower, like there's no way you couldn't have a connection with Earth. But I love that remembrance of like, oh, it is kind of scary to trust and to see the synchronicities. And yeah, it was so crazy. I was doing this resentment ceremony the other day, and I like dug a hole in my new house in Santa Barbara. And as I was like almost finished with the ceremony, a deer ran by, and it was so beautiful. And then I told the owner, and he's like, I've lived here like 10 years and I've never seen a deer.
Wow.
And I think I forget what the meaning of the deer was, but it was something like so beautiful. And yeah, it's just, I just love it. So, but anyways, okay, back to, back to.
No, I think that's so beautiful. And you're right. Like, there are signs everywhere. Like, yeah, everywhere. But about bleeding on the earth, like, really, that is something like I know a lot of people talk about it and probably have a lot more information than me. But for me, it felt very natural, and like that this is something that needed to happen. I've also been someone who just loves peeing outside, in general.
Me
And
too.
so it also wasn't like a big step. It was like, oh, I pee outside. I love peeing outside. And it's as women, we have this beautiful womb space that is literally directly a hole that's open to the earth. Like, we have this ability to absorb information from the earth. And that's why some people feel really a lot of energy in different places on this planet, feel a lot of different energy when they are out in the middle of the woods compared to in the city, because we absorb that energy in those different spaces. And so for me, when I like specifically began bleeding on the earth, I felt like not only am I like letting go of what's no longer serving me, literally, and like allowing it to come back to the earth, which is like the womb and the tomb of all of us. That's where we are born from, and that's where we return to. But yeah, as I was letting go, I was also opening up my channel to receive more, because, when you're literally, physiologically letting things go, you're opening up, you're softening, you're I'm no scientist or gynecologist, but you're opening up a little bit more to receive. And that's like maybe physical and very, very much energetically. And yeah, like I've had some really powerful moments in different places on this planet by bleeding on the earth and connecting. And honestly, sometimes it's felt like I'm on psychedelics, like, because it literally feels like, whoa, there's something powerful happening. I mean, definitely in Bali, I know I've shared a special place with you that I hosted my last retreat at, my 2 retreats ago, actually. And I remember bleeding there, and like I began like it was trippy to me. Like I was literally receiving so much information that like my cells were vibrating. I start like that's when I began to like really be able to clearly see energy like being exchanged between plants and people and everything. And even months later, I remember even being in the Great Smoky Mountains and the East Coast, and also having this like experience where I was with Joe, my partner, and I was like, oh my God, babe, like I feel like I'm gonna pass out. Like, and I wasn't, malnourished or anything. I was just like overwhelmed with energy that was like when I was opening up that channel. So I don't know what else to say about it, but it is a powerful like tool. And if you can't bleed on the earth, peeing on the earth is also like that good, stepping stone.
Yeah, and I'd love to talk about for anyone that's curious because I remember when I first started spiritual work, I'm like, I don't feel anything, like I'm broken, going to those stories. So can you describe like the energetic, like you kind of said you feel this tingling in your body. So how can someone like soften and connect to it if they do try it and they're new to like connecting in this sort of way to the unknown? What kind of sensations, what can they look for so that they can start to open that up?
Yeah. I definitely I want to throw out there that when I started doing this, I had no like intention of like, oh, I want to see energy, or oh, I want to like, I was just like, I'm giving back to the earth. Like my sole intention was like, I love you, earth. I'm giving back to you, and I'm open to receiving. So like there was no like, I need this back.
Mm.
And I think those subtle signs that you can definitely look for and feel into physically, the tingling, the like vibrational quality. When I say that, it's almost like you have something, a sense of you're getting me at this one, like a sense of like something is happening, something is different, because it really, oh my, like I'm getting chills as I'm talking about this. There's a great one when you get
Yes.
chills, like that is like earth. And like I love to say, like anytime I get chills, it's when I'm speaking like the truest of true. Obviously people feel differently on why they get chills, but that's always been the true for me. Yeah, so like just any like physical sensations that feel new, especially if this is something that you're doing fresh, listening to little intuitive hits that come, like maybe like all of a sudden you're like, oh, go over to this rock, and you're like, why would I go over to that rock? Like that doesn't feel like, but that's like those little, oh, I'm getting chills again. Okay. Oh, I love it. Like that's the universe or source or God, like whatever you identify it as, literally planting little seeds in your head that's like, go over to this rock, go look at this flower, and this is like where something deeper is going to happen. Maybe it's like a little vortex of that area that you're being led to. You hear about vortexes, like, big ones that are like citywide, like Sedona, but there's little vortexes everywhere that are charged with energy, that are like just hotbeds for these kinds of sensations and qualities. So listening to those intuitive hits that can come in, and it doesn't have to be a voice. It doesn't have to be like, usually it's a sensation like, oh, I need to go over here. And it's just like honoring that. With that, like, that's like listening to your heart. Like, really, that's what that is too. Because our inner wisdom is an extension of source. Like, our heart is our unique vibration, which our unique vibration is an extension of source, God, universe, whatever you like to call it. And so, yeah, like just allowing your heart to guide you into those places. And I think I mentioned it already, really not feeling the need to attach meaning to anything,
Mm.
and letting the unknown just be what it is, the unknown. Like I've had so many clients that are like, what does this mean from this dream or this mystical experience I've had? Like I need to like get to the root of it. And the thing about the unknown, it's like, oh my gosh, it's just what it is. It's just this beautiful instance. And the brain loves to talk ourselves out of those unknown experiences. So just letting it be true, Because I think that's the thing. Like people will be like, oh, it's not true. It's not real. It's not right. Just let it be what it is. If you felt it, it's true.
I love everything you just said. It's so beautiful. And I know that was a hard question because like in those moments you're just experiencing it, but I think that will be super helpful for people that are going to be curious about this that haven't done that. And it's those truly those little hits. Like every day my intuition will be like, go over here or like go grab that. And I'm like, now I don't even question it, but it's crazy when you start to listen to that, like something magical always unfolds, or like something you've been looking for, or yeah, like that plant, and then maybe you'll see a little cute butterfly, or there's so many things that can happen. So, and yeah, not trying to logic your way and try to understand everything, because there's just a deeper knowing than needing to figure it out in the mind. So thank you for sharing that. And I'd like to talk about like how at your retreat, we did this thing where it's like, why don't you go to a plant and see if you can pick the flower or like find something. So how can you start like communicating or talking with nature and yeah, and involving yourself in that way?
Yeah, I love that. As we just going off that last thing really quick too, I want to just say, especially for people starting out, the more you exercise that trust in the unknown, the easier it gets. Like, just like Lexi said, it's like, oh, now I'm like, go here, go there, talk to that person. It doesn't even feel like, oh, this is something like off or like new or weird. It's just like, oh, I know I'm just being guided. So like just starting with those small things, it gets easier. Yeah, the communicating with nature and like connecting with nature is so powerful. I know I also invited everyone to do some grounding on the earth there, because we were in Costa Rica, as Lexi mentioned at the beginning, and that land there is really, really powerful as well. Like I remember when I was first called to Costa Rica, some really intensely crazy synchronicities happening for me. And so like grounding is literally just getting yourself on the ground, your womb, your heart, your hands, your third eye. You can do all of those, are the ideal. And just honestly allowing your body to connect with the rhythm of the earth and that the frequency, the heartbeat. So that's something that's really beautiful. When we are anywhere in nature, there's often fauna and flora around. And so what I love to do is when I'm walking around, I love to touch, I love to connect. Like as I mentioned before, I'm like very passionate about leave no trace. So I'm not trampling things, but I am like, oh, like this pine bough is feeling like it wants me to connect with it, wants me to smell it. And you can start conversations with these plants that are around us, these butterflies, these chipmunks, these even bigger animals, but from afar. Like we can have these connections with it. So I invite anybody that's like wanting to open up that connection. It's first about slowing down to nature's speed, because we as humans are like super fast. And really, it's about slowing down to nature's speed, connecting on their level. So sitting down, grounding, like I just mentioned before, connecting with that space. And then literally like, hey, like just like a friend, like, hey, do you have any information for me? How has your day been? What is your life like? And again, like we mentioned earlier, just like that information that just kind of comes from within, from source, like just listen for it. It's not often like, or at least at the beginning, it's not like a conversation with your friend, but it can start to feel like that the more that you exercise it. Maybe you start to feel a sensation of, oh, like there is hurt here, or there's intense joy here, or this like area loves to be in the sun. Oh, like this loves the sunlight and that feeling, that warmth. It's again, like in this English language, it's even hard to like, describe, but it really does, like there's information that we can absorb. And I know a lot of people talk about receiving codes, and like that's kind of what we're talking about here. Codes are information. People are like water codes, earth codes, Bali codes, like they can be from anywhere, buffalo codes, like animals, whatever. And so really, like, it's about receiving information, again, that doesn't have that like knowing or meaning attached to it fully. It's just about like imagine like a gust of wind comes in and you're able to absorb it and you're able to allow it to come into your being. Like that's almost what receiving a code feels like.
Do you want to be a part of an extraordinary trip of a lifetime where you'll be surrounded by open-minded, fun, and inspiring humans from around the world? You'll be in a space that is so safe you can express all of you, not have to hide or hold back the tears or the weird accents you love to do. The amount of unconditional love you will feel will make you feel unstoppable. You'll be in a tropical paradise surrounded by beauty in the Balinese jungle. Every day you'll eat delicious, healthy meals cooked by a local chef, and instead of cleaning up after, you'll head to the glass sauna and relax. You love growing and are ready to leap into the unknown and connect deeper to your spirituality. At the end of the week, you'll leave feeling like the weight of the world has been lifted off your shoulders. You'll be smiling ear to ear and feel as light as a feather. I will take care of all of your needs for a week at the all-inclusive Alive to Enjoy retreat this December 2nd through 10th. You can book a call with me, Lexi, at alivetoenjoy.com/retreats. And I swear this will be hands down the best way to end 2023. All genders are welcome and all people who are here to make this world a better and brighter place.
I remember, oh my God, this one's like a really crazy to describe and talk about every time. I've only talked about it a couple times, but I remember I was in the Pacific Northwest with my partner last summer, and I put my hand on this tree, and it felt like I lost track of time. Like I didn't know how long I was there. I felt like so much time had passed, but also no time had passed. And I still don't actually know how much time had passed, to be honest. But I felt like I was seeing lights and like golden energy. And I also felt like I literally like kind of was in a wind tunnel, and like information, like it felt like things were just flooding my system. And I still like, I don't know exactly all of what that was. I do, like, afterwards I could hardly stand, like, because I was like, my whole body was almost like, and Joe was like, oh my God, Chelsea, what's going on? Like he was like around the corner, and I was like, and he's like, what just happened? I was like, I just put my hand on this tree, and like, I don't even know. Like, and so I just sit down and like, but that's like, it can feel that powerful, and it can be very, very subtle. And, that is after me, like, sitting down and communing with animals and plants all the time, and the earth and source. Like, you can do this with the stars too. You can do this with anything. So yeah, I hope that answered your question.
Yes. Yeah, you're amazing. I love it. It's so beautiful. And, there's just like, especially for someone that feels alone a lot, which many of us do at certain times, just knowing there's so many ways to feel connected, like so many, including like earth is an abundance, let alone just from talking. Something I personally love when I'm really needing to like feel held or safe or supported, like you said, is grounding, but just lying on the ground and feeling like I can drop all of me and the earth always is there to hold me. And that feeling feels so good when you can really just deeply soften into that and just like almost feel hugged by the earth. It is so supportive. And I think that we forget about these tools and this availability of like, we live in such a supportive space. Yeah, the earth is just always there. So I'm so grateful for you sharing all of that. And that brings me into your relationship now with psychedelics. So yeah, I think it's becoming a big thing now, right? And I think it's becoming more common, and it's used for therapy and all these things. I also think, which we talked about in the past, of like how people kind of use it's almost like an avoidance tendency too. It's like you're using it too much to not really be connected. So how can you use it in a way to like help you move through something or gain new insight without just using it so much that it's, yeah.
Yeah. No, I love talking about this. There's so many nuances to the space too. I think just on that last bit, anything in excess is just not good. It just being that like being in excess is like, in a way, also like being in those scarcity vibes, you know, like when you're like, oh, I need this, I need this. It's like that scarcity mindset of like, I need to fill this hole. An abundance mindset, it's like, oh, like this will come to me when I need it, or I will find it when I need it. And it's not something that I need to grasp at and to like continually have. So I don't know. That's something I've been thinking about recently around that. And also like excess is different for many people, you know, it's also different for each person. So it's very nuanced.
I just
The
want to add one more thing too, even though we haven't talked about it yet, but it's just like with this healing journey, sometimes just like it's so intense, you know, it's like you're trying to speed up the process and like do all this healing in such a short amount of time. And like, let me take psychedelics every single day, or let me, you know, do this every single day. And it's, yeah, I just feel like that takes away from the process because, I mean, you can have a lifetime of doing that and you're still not going to be completely, you know, there's still going to be something more to heal. So, yeah, I don't know. I just feel like adding that.
No, I 100% agree with that. I think we've talked about that. Like, I'm grateful that I started doing psychedelics at such a young age because, which is funny to say, because I've had a long period of my, like over half my life now, I've been sitting with medicine and feeling the beautiful, powerful revelations, breakthroughs, breakdowns that medicine can bring. And you're so right now, because psychedelics is finally being more accepted, that a lot of people who like, I don't know anybody else's intention, but a lot of people are speeding up that process, like you said. And they're like, oh, well, I want to serve this medicine. I need to get a little, like, you know, I need to get experience under my belt. So now I'm going to do psychedelics, you know, every week. So I can say I've done, you know, 20 ceremonies or whatever it is. Like, and so there's 100% that I see that so often. And, you know, I just came from the psychedelic science conference like 6 weeks ago or something. And I was like, I saw that and I felt that. And it is a little bit worrisome because like, let's just talk about the therapeutic side for a little bit, because I've always been doing like that sacred facilitation ceremony stuff. Like I know you've just seen the way I can facilitate ceremony without medicine that still feels like it is medicine. But that's just the route that I've always gone down. And that has been the typical route until now, you know, medical spaces are like, oh, let's start to use this. What I was trying to say is that it's interesting to see people who are like therapists and whatnot, who have had like little to no experience wanting to do this. And it always just brings me to this question of like, what is psychedelics going to look like when people who are serving the medicine aren't feeling the call? They're doing this for some other reason. Like maybe they're like, oh, this is a hot new area to go into, and like this, you know, this will be accepted so I can make money because I'll be the first one. They're not like feeling that source universe intuitive hit, like, I want to do this. And again, a lot of them aren't having that, I'm going to do this for myself first, which like we talked about for my business even. And certainly for serving medicine, like a lot of it was just like me doing what I needed to do for me over and over and over again. Also that integration time, like I've had more than a year where I've done no psychedelic medicine. And so like, I don't see, and like, you know, sometimes a ceremony experience can ask that of you. It's like, you have enough to look at now. You don't need this medicine for a while. Like you can just do, you got a lot to work with right there. Go ahead and keep going back to what was revealed to you in this ceremony and allow like that to be fully integrated. Like I know there's stuff I'm still integrating from so many different ceremonies because they come up in different ways as I grow and evolve. And so I don't know, that is something that's interesting about everything that's happening. I love
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, no.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I love working with medicine. I'm so grateful that that's one of the like most exciting things that I and still so lit up by on serving clients. Like I do a lot of one-on-one ceremonies. I've done a couple like medicine retreats, which have been really, really incredible. And it is something I love. And I love supporting people with microdosing too, which is a whole beautiful avenue that's like a great avenue I think therapists should go into instead of like the full. But again, like, I'm sure there are going to be incredible therapists out there. And I do have to acknowledge that some people need a doctor's office to even have that mental, like, I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know so many people will be like, I can't go and, into the middle of the woods or onto a retreat and do this. Like, that comfort level isn't there for them. They need to have someone who is in the medical field to even access this. And so there's like multiple parts of me. That's why it's a very nuanced question, because I want this to be accessible to everybody. And I want everyone to receive the magic that psychedelics, and I'm mostly talking about psilocybin right now, has for people. But yeah, it's just a nuanced conversation. And there's a lot, like, just like in any industry, there's a lot of opportunity for mistakes and corruption. So yeah.
Definitely. Thanks for sharing your perspective on that. And now I want to get into, well, two things is what can an integration process look like? Because I find that nowadays that spirituality is big and all this like self-help work, we're not integrating. And that's the embodiment piece that we both deeply love. And two, I'd love to hear like a fun experience or a revelation or something that you had on a psychedelic so people can kind of feel what the magic feels like.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, integration looks different for everybody. The timeline's never the same. The process is never the same. It's just like a, psychedelic journey. I say like journey that like encompasses all, ceremonies or recreational, like fun, like a journey with psychedelics. It always looks different. Very often, I think the common thread is slowing down and allowing a process to happen. Because again, like as humans, we are on a very fast pace, like rhythm. And just like I was talking about with connecting with the earth, even like continuing to connect with the lessons that medicine brings, we have to slow down. We have to listen again. And that's like really, I think the common thread with integration is that slowing down process, whether it's continuing to connect with the medicine and the lessons from that journey with journaling or with meditation or other beautiful practices that allow you to kind of come back into that heart space. I also think almost all plant medicine has that common thread of connecting you with your heart space, connecting you with that divine wisdom that's from your heart and from source, universe, God, whatever. And so like even just allowing that avenue of communication to still be present. There are things that can come up too in a journey, and you don't necessarily have to place a lot of meaning on everything. Again, like that's, people will place a lot of meaning on stuff. You will know intuitively what you need to work with. And I think what you were talking about before, if you're feeling like, oh, well, I need to just do another one to like, whatever, like really checking in with yourself. Is that your heart speaking? Is that your ego speaking? Is that avoidance speaking? Is that resistance to actually dealing with the information that you've already been presented, like happening?
Yes.
Yeah. So there's so many nuances to this space. That's what's like beautiful about psychedelics. And oh my goodness, there's so like when you asked like an experience, I've had so many incredibly profound experiences, but one that comes to mind, Joe and I were together, and he and I love to commune with psychedelics together and collaborate with our plant friends, our fungi friends. And we were in this beautiful camping area, and I was painting. I love to paint when I'm with medicine. And I was painting, and I was completely alone in the woods, and I was naked, and I was next to this creek, and like we had our campsite, but I was like, there was like a tiny little trail that I was like, had walked up maybe 5 to 10 minutes up the trail. And I just felt so held by nature, so taken care of. And every every time I like wanted something, like all of a sudden Joe would be there, like bringing me exactly what I wanted. And that's like something that I love about our relationship. And when we're at the medicine, like he's always like 5 steps ahead of me on what I desire. And it amplifies when we're with medicine 100%. And so I don't know, just feeling so taken care of, feeling so supported. I think that's also one of the most beautiful things for me as a space holder of these one-on-one ceremonies is like giving that to somebody else, because I'm so grateful I have that in my partnership. But having a one-on-one ceremony where I'm, it's like we're all with the medicine and the medicine communicates through us. And so it's like this bridge where I can like tap right into somebody else's head and I'm like, oh, they want this. And like, I get to be that person. They're like, wait, how did you know? Like, I can't tell you how many times like I'll have clients they're like, oh my God, Chelsea, when you brought me this fruit, or when you said, let's like, you should take a shower, like it was exactly what I needed. Or when you started playing your instruments, like that is like, I don't know, it just always is so connected and so beautiful. And so I guess the common thread of everything I'm saying is like that ability to feel supported, and the way I feel like I can listen even deeper, and not just to myself, to whoever I'm with, but to like the energy of the land around me. Like that's the special sauce that I love. So yeah.
I agree. I've only done it a few times, but I remember one time being with two of my best guy friends, and the wavelength we were on, right? We're all sharing the same wavelength. One time we were all camping Big Sur. There was four of us, of my best friends, and we were just like nonstop laughing and just in each other's heads. And it was so like deeply like healing on a trauma level, but then also the ultimate joy and everything intertwined. So I freaking love it. I would love to do a one-to-one ceremony with you one day.
Oh
Definitely
my
gonna
God.
happen.
I would love that. And
Yes.
oh my God, just as you said that, like I've been so grateful that a lot of people have come to me that have had no experience with psychedelics at all. And I think that's also a really fun thing, like people like almost seeing it through like that, new expression. Like one of my dearest friends, like her partner did psychedelics with me for the first time, and like seeing him connect with a tree, like it was like so beautiful. Like he's like the tree's breathing, like it's talking with me, like it's communicating. The bark is so beautiful. Like, it's just really, I don't know. I just had to say, like, just being with, I'm so grateful I've had a lot of first timers in my realm. And it's just really cool to see like their world like open up in like this whole other way. So I just had to say that.
I love it. It's a beautiful gift. I'm sure it's so fun to facilitate that. Okay, so we need to know, which I already know the story, but still, the story of Joe.
Oh my gosh. The story of Joe. Yeah, I talk about that as like my first manifestation, truly. Like I had been dating this guy on and off for like a year and a half. Like it just never felt, I knew he wasn't like the one, but I just felt comfortable with him. Like we had a good thing going. We had mutual friends. It was just like a compatible thing, but it wasn't the thing. Like I remember my mom would be like, "Can I meet this guy?" I was like, "Mom, he's not even worth your time. He's not going to be around. No, like don't worry about it." And I finally was like, I can't do this anymore. Like this is just not right. It doesn't feel good to me. I'm like blocking myself off from receiving the real thing because I keep accepting less than what I deserve over and over and over again. And so I said, no, I'm done. Closed off that door for sure this time, because I had, we had broken up before, but like energetically, I was like, the door was still ajar. And so I closed that door fully, and I just was like doing me. I was doing what I wanted to do. That summer, or that winter, I was skiing like crazy. I was traveling all over Colorado. I was just having a blast, living my best life. And not long after I closed that door, I was working at a ski area 1 day a week so I could ski all these places for free. And I was on a ride break, And I took up the ski lift up to the top. And as I'm like about to get off, I see this like really, really hot guy shoveling snow. And I was like, oh my God, that guy is so freaking hot. Like, ooh, he had overalls on. He was just so cute. I was like, ooh, give me some of that. And I just like, I'm about ready to get off the ski lift. And like as I'm like getting off and like skiing past him, I just yell like, hey, you're cute. And like he turns his head and like I ski away. Like, I got to ski, it's a limited time for my break. And so I ski away, and a couple of days later, I was at this like Mexican food restaurant / bar with a friend, and I noticed one of his coworkers, like one of the people in the same department. And I was like, hey, biker. His name was Biker Mike. This old head that's been working at this ski area for like probably 40 years at that point. And I was like, biker, what's the deal with that guy named Joe that was at the top of Ptarmigan? And because he had a name tag. And so like I knew his name. And he's like, oh my God, that guy is new. He's super cool. Everybody loves him. He's been living in his van for 5 years. Like he's such a hard worker. And I was like, oh, ooh, hard worker. Like that's like one of my family tenets. I was like, ooh, check, yes. Living in your van, check. Hot as fuck. Like I love that. Like, and so I was like, okay, biker, like you tell him that there's a girl named Chelsea that has a pancake jacket that has a crush on him. My ski jacket was a stack of pancakes. And so I was pretty noticeable. And so a couple days later ish, I was on a ski break again, and I was at the bottom of the hill, and I was about to get my like ticket scanned, and he scanned my ticket, but I was talking with my friend. And so I was like not paying attention. So he passed me, and then he saw the back of my ski jacket, saw the stack of pancakes, and he like came back. He's like, is your name Chelsea? And I was like, yep. And he's like, can I get your number? I was like, oh yeah. And we had a beer that night after work, and like I had like to go on the employee shuttle back down to Denver, down to go home. And I just was like texting him on the ride home. I was like, hey, I don't know what your plans are for tonight. I knew he lived in his van at that point too, like he told me. I was like, but if you want to drive down to Denver, I can make you dinner and we can keep talking. And so he came down, we had dinner together, we had our first kiss. And like we honestly never spent another night apart from each other after that night. Like it was just like, this is my human. A week later, we said I love you to each other. We were just like in the zone. 5 years after we said I love you, we got married, which was this last March, and now I'm pregnant with his kid. So it was a beautiful story. And I think like the lesson in that is that I knew I was in a relationship that was not what I deserved, not what I wanted. And when I finally like declared to the universe, like, no more, I'm done, I'm not doing this any longer, like I'm only gonna accept what I deserve, then exactly what I deserved and exactly what I wanted to receive finally came into my world, because the universe felt what I like. It felt that I was ready to receive it. And I feel like that can go in so many areas of life, from like business to personal development to anything. Like the universe is never going to give you what you want to receive until you're actually ready to receive it and actually clear out those stories and those limiting conditions and everything. And so, yeah, my first manifestation. Yeah.
So beautiful. And I also love too that I feel like often women are like waiting for the man to make a move. And I love that you're just like, nope, I like it. So I'm going to tell him I like him. And like, I think that's so powerful. And anyone can do that. And we need to remember that. And even anytime you just feel that call, it's once again connecting to your intuition. Like you didn't know why, but you're just like, I'm going to yell at him that he's cute because that's what I'm feeling, and trusting in those sensations. And also I think with that, like the manifestation, it's like you took that aligned action. You went and told that man. It's like, we don't just wait around, which I think a lot of people get stuck on. It's like, I'm just going to wait for my person to come to my doorstep. But it's like, no, you saw him and then you took the action of telling Mike to like let him know, and like, you know, and then you told him to come over for dinner, and it's like you really took initiative as well as being in the flow and surrender. So,
and I want to like, even because I've been working at that area since November, and this was like end of February that this all happened too. So again, like one of those things, like, you know, the universe works in these crazy ways. I had not seen him until when I was ready for him. Like I had, you know, like people are like, oh, I feel my person in my field. They probably are. And the universe is going to have them enter like right up in your face when you're actually ready for it. And so like, that's something I always think about. I'm like, oh my God, what if I had seen him when I was still dating that guy, or when I was still like just not in the right energetic vibration? And so that's totally something to even like take away. It's like they could be like right there and just waiting for you to like energetically align. Yeah.
That's such a good point. Yeah, he's like he was in the same vicinity for so long, which you hear a lot too. So I've never thought of it like that. I love that perspective.
Yeah.
Yay! What a beautiful conversation. Okay, last question is, what does your inner child want to hear right now?
Like there's a couple things coming through. I feel like that you're doing incredible and you're doing the thing, and like continue to just let your heart guide you and trust. And also like all of your wildest dreams can come true. Like everything that you're dreaming up, you're working towards, like they're like I just said, they're in the vicinity. And they're just like, I'm just gonna start reaching out and grabbing them whenever I'm like energetically aligned for them too. I feel like, yeah.
Love it. I love it so much. Okay, so share with everyone how they can work with you, where they can find you.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, first you can find me on Instagram. That's like where I love to hang out. My Instagram's the Chelsea Renee with 3 underscores. And that's like the best way to find the up-to-date information in my link in bio. My website is heartcenteredhumans.com. And if you want to subscribe, I send out like awesome little ditties every once in a while. My upcoming retreat is in November in Colorado, and that's a Soul Sister Connection retreat. And I'm super excited to like it's going to be the first time in 2 years that I've had a retreat in Colorado. And that's like, I have such a connection to this land here. So I'm really excited. If you're interested in the breath space and like connecting with the breath technique that I have created, it's called the Somatic Breath Activation. There's a breath membership that you can sign up for. It's $33 a month. And there's also a way you can be certified in holding space and breathwork facilitation. And that is like a really like powerful container. Yeah, even checking out Heart-Centered Humans for whatever coaching programs and whatnot I have going on. I do one-on-one support for like incredible space holders or that are looking for mentors, or coaching for all areas of life. And plant medicine stuff is best to DM me. I'm usually booked out like a little bit in advance. And so even, yeah, just starting the conversation and seeing if it aligns for me to support you in your next evolution. But I think that covers all of it.
Amazing. So many opportunities. Highly, highly, highly recommend reaching out to Chelsea and just being in her field and energy. And thank you so much for sharing everything today.
Thank you. You're so incredible. I'm so grateful to be here. So thank you so much.
Love you.
Love you too.
You made it to the end of the episode, so now it's time for our snuggly heart breath of the day. Place a hand or both hands, if it's safe to do so, over your heart and take a big breath into your heart center. Open your mouth and let it go. I'm so grateful to have shared this time with you. If you enjoyed this convo, please share with your besties and your fam. And if you're a visual person like me, fly over to YouTube and watch the video. If you want to do a random act of kindness today, please leave a 5-star review so more people in the world can get their heart snuggled. You're helping tremendously when you do this, so thank you so much. And as a gift for doing so, I'll give you my Soften Your Heart Medi that feels like an exhale and a hug from within. When you leave a review and email me the screenshot to heartsnuggles@alivetoenjoy.com, you can also find the email in the show notes and you'll get the free meditation. Sending you the warmest, comfiest hug and lots of unexpected blessings your way. Remember that every single person just wants to be loved. So how can you be loved today?